The sulfur-crested cockatoo, known for its signature mohawk and street smarts. Punks, who just can't seem to stay out of trouble.
They smash a lot of things, a lot of glass to clean up.
These birds are kept as pets around the world, but here in the suburbs of Sydney, Australia, they're wild. And in recent years, people have noticed them using their big brains to snack on trash.
They're getting more intelligent. They're evolving.
Scientists think they're actually learning how to open the bins from each other.
There's a lot of bricks you'll see like sitting on people's bins because of cockatoos.
Certain kinds of pigeons, rats, and roaches have lived off human waste for ages. Now, as growing cities swallow up natural areas, other species are learning to thrive on what we throw out.
Cities are not these environments that are kind of sterile and devoid of wildlife.
But the question of whether garbage is good for animals isn't so simple. We went to Australia to meet creatures that dine on worldwide waste. As long as humans have used trash cans, animals have tried to get into them. But in the coastal town of Stanwell Park, about 35 miles south of Sydney, locals only noticed cockatoos breaking into their bins around 2014.
If you go back like 5-10 years ago, they didn't know how to open bins, so they're figuring stuff out.
Residents can't seal their bins shut because the lids need to tilt open when garbage trucks pick them up. And the birds have gotten really, really good at opening those lids on their own by learning from each other. That led to people using rocks or bricks to weigh them down, but the birds got around that one too.
Why did you go to that? What were you doing before?
It's just down here. They had that rock on there.
And they moved that somehow, did they?
Somehow they moved it. I don't know how. It must have taken 5 or 6 of them, but yeah, they definitely moved it. So I had to go to the hockey strap, which I reckon I'll work out eventually.
Other ingenious human innovations? Empty water bottles, broom handles, doormats, springs, and padlocks. The birds can't get around those. For now. Just how smart are these cockatoos?
Hey.
One YouTuber invented a device to find out.
Say hello to the Bin Chicken Training Aid, your tool for turning even the dumbest flying bolt cutter into a trash can terror. As it seems cockatoos are also quite skilled at undoing them. This was this bird's first attempt.
So how did this happen?
Bin opening is a learnt behaviour. I'd suspect there were overfull bins. The birds started to somehow learnt that there was free food in there. The cockatoos learnt that, and then they figured out they could open the bins.
John Martin is an ecologist focused on urban wildlife. He helped create the Big City Birds Project, which recruits regular people to track wildlife encounters using an app.
You might just upload a photo of a bird or report an observation. They were eating my sandwich. It can be that simple.
Citizen scientists like Kim Barrett track cockatoo activity.
I'm basically retired and just trying to tick the bucket list. So it was getting up early in the morning and following the trucks around and following the cockatoos around and filming all their antics and cleverness and opening the bins.
The birds eat a little bit of everything.
They love bread, but they also eat meat. It's kind of disconcerting to see a cockatoo chewing on a chicken leg, but I saw that quite a lot.
For his study on the subject, John and his team looked at over 3,200 garbage bins in the suburbs of Sydney, mapping the steps humans have taken to keep the birds out. It turns out that humans, too, are learning from their neighbors.
The bin opening research has taught us that the whole adage of monkey see, monkey do, referring to humans, also applies to cockatoos.
People will often do what their neighbour has done because they'll have a chat to their neighbour. What are you doing? Does that work? And they'll follow suit.
So is a steady diet of garbage good for the birds?
Quite often, it's not that bad because they have a range of different foods that they're eating. And species know, like us, that we need to have more of a balanced diet.
But to understand more about the full extent of humans' impact on cockies, you need to know about great tits. British scientists first documented great tits prying open milk bottles in 1921. Over the following years, the birds began to mimic that behavior across the UK. And since then, scientists have recorded many more animals adapting their diets to human food sources. One study found that some storks in Portugal have basically stopped migrating so they can gorge on rotting food in landfills. Convenience can play a big factor.
People are always going to put garbage on the curbside, and so it's reliable. You don't have to work as hard to go and look for food.
Joanna Coleman is an urban ecologist teaching at Queens College in New York City.
One scheme to sort of categorize wildlife is the urban exploiter to adapter to avoider spectrum.
Urban exploiters have become at least partially dependent on human resources. At the other end of the spectrum, you have urban avoiders, animals that need a lot of space or just can't hack it in densely populated areas. And in between, you have urban adapters, like the sulfur-crested cockatoo, whose habitats can often overlap with those of humans. But just because an animal has access to lots of free food, that doesn't mean it's good for them. Take one study of raccoons done by researchers in Toronto.
The higher the amount of garbage they had access to, the fatter those raccoons were, and the higher their blood sugar was. And so higher blood sugar can be a precursor to health problems like diabetes, which is quite problematic, yeah.
More than half the people in the world now live in urban areas, and that's expected to rise to 70% by 2050. So, as cities expand, experts say it's more important than ever to preserve green space.
We know that contact with nature is fundamental to our physical, mental, and emotional well-being, but it also affects things like our willingness to conserve biodiversity.
Booming animal populations, however, can also lead to more of what scientists call negative encounters. For example, in Singapore, where a rebound in the number of wild otters left a man running for his life.
When I laid there, it was like time had stopped, and I just kept thinking, surely I'm not going to die this way.
And in just a handful of cases, urbanization has actually set up some species for long-term success. In London, the peregrine falcon has gotten better at night hunting thanks to the city's ambient light.
We're going to see that maybe additional species are going to shift and adapt to utilise the urban landscape. But I think it's important to note, most species don't, and most species can't adapt to the urban landscape.
As they say, to the victor go the spoils. And as this arms race, or maybe wings race, continues, the cockies of Stanwell Park seem to be enjoying their 15 minutes of fame.
Generally, you can just walk up and they're quite happy to be filmed. I think they like being film stars, to be honest.